This is Wedding DJ School, your guide to the business of a wedding DJ. We're talking with leaders in the wedding entertainment industry. You're going to hear their backstories, how they got started, and where they are today. Hey, it's Josh Mitchell, and I'm so glad that you can join us. Just a quick word about the show before we get started. After today's episode, there are just 3 more in Season 2. Then we're going to take a break to prepare for Season 3. So if you have any topics or questions or anything that you want to suggest, you can submit those to josh@weddingdjschool.com or reply to any of the action guide emails, which you can get by texting Wedding DJ to 44222. Today's guest is Josh Staley from Columbus, Ohio. He runs a multi-op company called Josh Staley Productions, and he's married to his wife, Michelle. We're going to talk about energy. We're going to talk about setting the tone to ensure that as a DJ, your vibe matches the night. All of the links to find Josh Staley and his company are in the notes of this show. I hope you enjoy and get a lot out of this.
So hi, my name is Josh Staley. I own a DJ company in Columbus, Ohio. I've been DJing for about 5 years now, had the company for about 5 years, and I'm a multi-op, have 9 guys on staff with me, and absolutely love rocking weddings and events, making it all about the client and their personalized style.
So Josh, take me back to when you first started thinking about DJing, first started thinking about weddings. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so we actually were getting married 7 years ago, and I wasn't really doing much to help with the wedding. And my wife, Michelle, said, Josh, you're a musician. Why don't you find the DJ? And I was like, okay, I got this. Long story short, I didn't have it. I did a terrible job. And the DJ we hired was just like awful, like cringeworthy moments during the reception. Just awkwardness out the wazoo. And I realized through that experience, how important DJs actually are to the wedding day. And so I told my friends who were getting married that year, I said, listen, let me try this DJ thing because I feel like I can do it better, definitely than this guy. And so they said yes. They were like, cool, free DJ. And they let me do it. And I fell in love with it. Started a company. First year we did about 35 events. Now we do about 300 weddings a year.
Wow, that is incredible. And I'm thinking of the person on the front end of their journey right now. And just a couple key learnings to extract already from your story, which is fantastic, is bad experiences can be learning experiences. So
definitely,
somebody who's not very good, you can actually take that and be inspired from it. Do you remember any specifics from what that DJ did that wasn't so good?
Okay, so one that is just burned into my memory. So I come from a very conservative background. So it's a Christian background. Living together before marriage is taboo. You don't do that. And for the shoe game, which was still new back then, so we were trendy, okay? So we did the shoe game, and we wrote him a list of questions that were all PG, funny, so that we weren't going to get any surprises. Well, he didn't use that list. He used his list, and he asked us in front of our entire crowd, who is better in bed? Which, if looks could have killed, the look that my dad shot me right then, I would have been dead. So that was one of the big moments I remember. And then I also remember he mispronounced our name several times and set up his speaker in the doorway. So my wife tripped over it walking in. So just moments like that are ones that are burned into my memory, but he was just a terrible MC and DJ. He didn't mix at all. So,
well, yeah. And it's good, though, that you were able to take that and you were able to be a blessing to others. You were able to improve. You were able to, build your business off. Hey, we're not going to settle just for showing up and doing what we usually do. We're going to be more intentional. So I want to hear a little bit about how when you did your first wedding, the one that you did for your friend, tell us a little bit more about how are you thinking in terms of the planning process and being able to ensure that you delivered success? How did you set that situation up?
Yeah, so the first thing I realized is I needed to have more time with the couple than our DJ had with us. So he did a 20-minute meeting with us and just basically said, what songs do you want me to play? Which should have been a red flag, but I didn't know any better. So with my friends, I set up several, two meeting calls. They were about an hour long each. And we just went through their wedding day. What's important to you? What are your goals? What do you definitely want to see happen? What do you not want to see happen? And so obviously this was a learning experience as I was, building my business, but just having that focus on excellence and understanding my couples was so important to me at the outset. I didn't know anything about, Serato or, any kind of DJ software, pretty much just use Spotify. But on the MC side of things, I knew my couples, I knew what they wanted, and I knew how to personalize the wedding to them.
Yeah, so from the offset, you were taking the time to get to know them on a personal level, not just showing up to do a routine, but you were kind of intentionally trying to get to know them on that relational level. How has that been as you've grown your company and you think about just the importance of relationships? How have you seen that to be true in your world?
Yeah, so I mean, relationships just play a huge role in what we do as DJs. Like, it's very much a relational profession. As I've grown up, as our company's grown, like it's funny, like the first year you DJ, like, all your couples' names by heart. You remember every single one of them, what they look like, all that. But then as you get to doing, 70, 80 weddings a year, like, you start to go, wait, okay, who are these people that are about to come to my office? And so the ways that we've put into to personalize it is during those meetings, we try to do as many in-person meetings as possible or online face-to-face. We don't want to do phone calls. We don't want to do like a bunch of emails back and forth. We very much want to meet with our couples. And when we're meeting with our couples, when I'm meeting with mine, I have Evernote open and I am just taking tons of notes. So that way, the next time I meet with them, all those notes are right there. So I'm very much like intentionally focusing on them during that time. I'm not trying to run them through a cookie cutter process. I'm not trying to make them do the same thing that every other wedding couple does. Like, I very much want to take each wedding and keep it personal to them, and just within our relationship of planning this wedding together, I really want to make sure that their goals are being met. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely, yeah. And I just shout out to Evernote because I'm a big Evernote fan and user as well.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I've
my brain lives in my computer.
Yeah, and I think it's important to not just kind of keep everything in your head. It's important to have a system as a business owner and especially as a wedding DJ to have a place where you're going to store information so that you can retrieve it when the time is right. And whether you use Evernote or OneNote or whatever you think is a good app, you got to have some kind of system. And that's something that I notice for the people that are at the top of their game, high capacity leaders and business owners don't try to keep everything in their head. They recognize their limitation and they have a system. What are some other systems as you've grown your company with multiple DJs and as you've seen this thing go from, just a couple events per year in when you did your first year of being a wedding DJ to where you are now? What are some systems that you've built to help you be successful?
Yeah, so I would say one of the things right off the bat, we use HoneyBook. It's our client management software. It keeps all of our clients organized. We have email templates that are set to send out at specific times so that every bride and groom are getting somewhat of a personalized and similar treatment to all the other brides and grooms. So like, we're reminding them about their planning meetings. We do everything for them. So HoneyBook helps us do that, keeps so much stress off the bride and groom because we're not forgetting meetings or losing things or forgetting to set things up with couples. Like, it just keeps us on track with everybody. And when you're doing, 300 weddings a year, like, it's really easy for stuff to fall through the cracks. So HoneyBook really keeps us on track there. We also use the Google Suite. We use Google Docs, Google Email. So all of my DJs have their own email, but we can see it. So it comes to a collective box, but it's also going to their individual boxes as well. And inside of HoneyBook, I can literally go back and see the entire conversation they've had with the couple that they're working with. And then I can also see what we've typed in there as well. So HoneyBook is a huge tool. Obviously record pools are huge. Direct music service, shout out to them. Club Killers. We have a staff meeting online every 2 weeks. And in that staff meeting, we're always talking about, a specific topic that will make us better as a team. And a lot of times that comes down to mixing and what tracks are killing for you right now. And because we're all utilizing the same record pools, it's so easy to be able to like, oh, you're digging this track, and we can just find it and download it real quick. We're not, searching all over the internet for that next track. So staff meetings are a huge part of our culture. We really like to get together and just talk about what's working for each other. What are some new things that you're trying? And that also helps us maintain brand consistency, because if anything's too out there, we can pull it back right there in that meeting. So.
And do you do those in person or those online?
Those are online via Google Hangouts, which is another great tool. If you're not using Google Hangouts, it's like Zoom, but it's free.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and what I love hearing about this from you is that you have a system, you have a process, and that is what's so important for a takeaway. Whether you use HoneyBook or whether you use something else, you have a system. And this is what the people that are at the top of their game, that are killing it, making it work, creating success on repeat, they have a way of recreating that success in a predictable way. And it doesn't mean that you lose your creativity. It doesn't mean that you can't be an artist anymore. It just means that you're able to guarantee that success is going to be there. You're removing obstacles. So I love that you use a music pool. We've talked about those on some of the other episodes here. So that's fantastic in terms of having systems. And I highly recommend that as well, because I can remember when I was trying to just piecemeal my library together. And it all changed when I finally started using a record pool. I was like, oh, this is so much easier, and the investment is worth it. So I just love hearing that from you. It's like, yes, absolutely, you need that record pool. It's going to make you more successful.
Well, I feel like record pools save you money, because if you have to download each one of those tracks individually, like, oh my goodness, you're going to pay out the wazoo for that. But like, yeah, $500 a year and you can download as much music as you want. Like, that's a no-brainer.
I love it. So I want to go back, and so you transitioned at some point from being a solo DJ to having other DJs under you, or working in more of a multi-op situation. And I always like to clarify for people that don't know what multi-op means, because that's kind of like in the DJ world, word. We throw that out all the time, but it just means that you have multiple DJs working under you. But can you paint the picture for us about how that transition happened, when you sensed that was the right move, and how you thought through that?
Yeah, so for me, I moved pretty quick on stuff. My first year, actually, I got a couple requests for dates that I was already booked on, and I knew some guys who had similar skill sets to me, and I was like, they could probably do this. Now, keep in mind, this is when I was using Spotify and, had some cheap equipment, and I was like charging $300, and I thought I was awesome. So I was like, yeah, other people could do this. And so I grabbed 2 guys, brought them on with me, and it worked out. They went out, they got good reviews as well. And so then we started bringing on more guys and more guys. And we kind of realized that anyone with a good personality, who was responsible and who had a little bit of musical talent, we could teach to DJ. Because if you have a good personality, you're a natural MC most of the time. And a lot of times we just have to wordsmith what you say. And then when it comes to mixing, we just have to teach them the basics of blending from track to track. And once they have that down, they're in really good shape. Now, that worked for the first 3 years. And then we started to realize, as we moved up and we started to do more things that were for the more luxury high-end market, and the more personalization of the wedding days, we needed DJs who had experience coming in. Like, it was really hard for us just to grab new guys and teach them what we were doing, because it was such a high level. So what we did is we started another company that was more aimed at the budget market. And so right now our DJs actually start at another company called Turn Up Columbus, that I own as well. And they do 2 years there just doing the basic stuff, very much good emceeing, good transitions between songs, but they're not live mixing. So they do that for 2 years, and then they actually move up to my higher end company with experience. So now then we can just teach them like it's more of it's less of a learning curve for them. And it also just means greater success for them going forward.
I love that, Josh. And we've talked on this podcast before about the importance of doing your time and taking a season, whatever that looks like for you, of, hey, just go be a DJ and get in front of people, set up the equipment, make the event successful. So I love that you actually build that in kind of as insurance for your wedding. So your DJs aren't really DJing weddings until they've done a good 2 years of just general DJing.
Exactly. And that's something we've implemented in the last couple of years. And then we also have a very strict onboarding process. They have to go out to at least 10 weddings with us, really shadow our guys. And then we start to give them responsibility. So like, if I have somebody shadowing with me, I'll be like, all right, you're going to mix cocktail hour tonight. You're going to mix dinner tonight. You're going to do all of our speech announcements. So you're going to let people know it's time for toasts and who's toasting and a little intro about the person toasting. That's your job tonight. So we let them do that. We give them little bits of responsibility until we feel like they can really handle a whole wedding. And then at their first wedding, we are usually there watching over their shoulder, one of our experienced DJs, just to make sure that everything's going to go smoothly and run correctly. Because that first one, you're always super nervous.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we can all look back and remember what our first wedding was like, or even those first handful. Right. Like you said, you still remember the couple's names and all of the details about them.
Right.
And then
I still can't believe they hired me. I had no website. I had, they met me on Thumbtack, and like no website, no reviews. They were just like, cool, $300, sure, here you go.
Yeah, but let's talk about that for a second, because I think there's sometimes a misconception out there that if you want to get into this industry, you have to have, a huge DJ setup, a website, all this stuff. And I think there is some truth to that. But also, I want to encourage the people that are on the front end of their journey that are like, there's no way I can get into this. How would you encourage those people, just based on your story with kind of the Thumbtack thing of it is possible to get into it?
Yeah, so I utilize Thumbtack right off the bat. For those who don't know, Thumbtack's a website where couples can go on and they can put out, we're looking for a DJ on this specific date. Here's some of the details, and then you can bid on the job. So you throw a quote back. Generally, couples on there are looking for cheaper DJs, which for those of you who are just getting started, that doesn't mean you need to be a cheap DJ. It definitely does not mean that. If you have some MC skills and you can show up with decent equipment, like you are worth somewhere around $1,200 right off the bat. So don't feel like you have to $300, $400 lowball it. But that being said, that's where I started. And so started on Thumbtack and then built reviews there, transferred those reviews over to the Knot, started building on the Knot, eventually got off Thumbtack because no one wanted expensive DJs on there. And then really just built up our presence on Google and the Knot and Wedding Wire, which we eventually dropped. And just every year you want to see growth. You want to see building. So you need to start somewhere, make sure you're collecting your reviews. And then with equipment, you don't need to buy the most expensive stuff right off the bat. You need to get stuff that is quality, though. You need to get stuff that sounds good and that is a good product, especially with wireless microphones and speakers. Those are gonna really play a big role into the success you have on the wedding day. And then don't use a janky old computer. Get a computer that you can rely on, and then put the proper steps in place, the proper backups in place. So like if something goes down, you have a backup. So right now in our setups, we have our laptops, which we use as our main component. And then some of us have backup laptops just in case that one went down. But the rest of us have an iPad that can easily connect to our board. That can be, our in case of emergency. And then worst case scenario, our speakers have Bluetooth built into them. We can Bluetooth from our phones or from our iPads in the worst case scenario.
That's so good. Yeah, having a backup system and a plan that you've decided before the gig is a must.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I've told the story before about one of my first weddings. I did not have the first dance song play. My computer froze up right when I went to play the first dance song. But
It's always the first dance song,
it's
right?
the first dance
That's
song.
when it's going to happen.
But
Yeah.
I had the iPad ready to go, and it wasn't anything fancy. It was just a playlist in what was then just the regular music app before Apple Music. It was just so I just played it right from there, and it came through. So thinking through your backup system is so important. Do you have any stories over the years of things going wrong or equipment failing or anything like that you could share with us?
Yeah, so this actually happened. I'll tell a couple, but this happened 2 weeks ago. We're getting set for the wedding. Everything's ready to go, and I was feeling a little bit dragging. Like that was my second or third event that week, and I was just like, I need a caffeine boost. So like the planner came over, and she's like, "You want some tea?" I was like, "Heck yes!" So she brings me a glass of tea, and you can probably see where this is going. I was distracted by something. I went to pick up the tea, spilled it all over my SZ2. And so my mixer, just full of tea. So I shut it off and I was like, okay, maybe I can dry it out. So I dried it out, did everything I could. And I was like, please work. And I turned it back on and it was working. But I told my assistant, I said, run to the truck and get my backup mixer. I always keep a backup mixer there. And I said, get it, bring it into the room. Let's unpack it just in case something happens. And we did that. We had it unpacked. Sure enough, 10 minutes before the bridal party was about to be introduced, my music goes, just cuts. And I was like, get the mixer. And so we grabbed it. We switched it out real quick before anybody was in the room. And so the rest of the night, I ran from my backup mixer. And I'm so glad I had it because I would have been, I could have run from my laptop, but, that's not the same level or experience that my couple expects. Like they expect to see me live mixing. And so I had that. I had it ready to go, and we got it into place. So that's story one. And then, another thing that's happened in the past is I've showed up to an event. I get put in direct sunlight. My computer has overheated, and I had to switch right to my iPad, via Bluetooth, just because my laptop is dead, or it's not working. Because when your laptop or Macs get hot, they run a program that slows everything way down. And so having a computer fan, which I carry with me now, is great. And then also having that iPad for a backup. It was a corporate event, so they just needed background music, so that worked perfectly. For those of you who don't know, DJ Pro, it's a iPad app. It works on your laptop as well. It is a great backup if you need to do mixing without a mixer. Like it does, its auto mix features are incredible. And in a pinch, that will make you sound really, really awesome without having a DJ board with you.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people get hung up in, oh, what app is the best, and I'm going to go all out on this one. And it's like, hey, look, they're all tools, and most of them do the same thing. It doesn't really matter what you use as long as you're able to deliver the excellence, deliver the goods in the moment.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you use DJ Pro. I hear people that'll put it down sometimes, and it's like, look, if you're running on an iPad and that's all you got because the other thing went down, it'll save your butt. So I think that's so important.
As far as I know, too, DJ Pro is the only one that you can actually mix on an iPad with a mixer. They have cables for it and everything. And then, again, I think it's one of the best looking softwares out there. All my guys use it. I use Serato, but if DJ Pro had some of the features that Serato does, I'd be on DJ Pro because it looks better and it has Spotify built in. Like, how cool is that? Not that. Listen, for all you new DJs, do not rely on online music. You need to save all your music offline. You need to be building crates and playlists inside of iTunes or wherever, and you need to have that music saved offline. Don't buy into I can use Tidal. Oh, I can use Spotify. Like, that will fail you at some point.
Yeah, it absolutely will. And, yeah, like we've talked about before, the importance of having offline music through a legit DJ pool is the way to go. And not just because of the legal issues, obviously, is what gives you the best peace of mind, but more than that, it's just the confidence of knowing that you have it and that you can duplicate it and you can use it in it's more tangible. You can actually do stuff with the files because they're not these kind of elusive things that are there. So you need to be able to depend on your music and that kind of stuff. That's great. What is one area that you would not skimp? You've already said microphones and speakers, and I definitely give that my +1. Both. Yeah, if your speakers aren't great, it doesn't matter how good your microphone is. It's not going to sound very good coming through really low end speakers. But with that in mind, what are some other areas that you would not skimp when it comes to equipment?
Yeah, so one thing that is really going to affect your sound that not a lot of people know about is preamps. And you may ask, what's a preamp? And that's what actually is making your sound louder. So whatever source you're giving it, the preamp is what makes it louder. So there's a preamp in your DJ mixer. There's one if you're using a soundboard. They're all built into there. And that's why if you look at some soundboards, they are like $129. And then there's some that are like $12,000. And it's the quality of the preamp that you're paying for. So if it was me, I would not skimp on preamps. So I don't run my microphones through my DJ mixer. I feel like the DJs that do, their microphones always sound like this, no matter what they do. And so I always believe in buying an off-board mixer. So I use the Yamaha TF Rack. I can control it with my iPad. That's a little pricey. I mean, worst case scenario, go with the Midas MR12. It sounds awesome. And you can run your DJ mixer into it. You can run your microphones into it. And you're getting a really solid signal that's going to make your speakers sound great. Because, obviously if you don't have good speakers, nothing's going to sound good. But if you don't have good preamps, then nothing's going to sound good either. If you go with the cheapest DJ mixer out there, they don't have the best preamps. They're going to hurt your sound.
I give that, again, another +1 on that. That is fantastic. And as a musician, I'm thinking about, I've never thought about DJing without an external mixer, just because I think in terms of the way a musician would or a sound guy would, and I want to deliver that same quality of excellence. From that mindset, how do you think about some of that other stuff that might transfer over to the DJ world?
Yeah, and it's funny, I would never think about DJing without an external soundboard either. But a lot of the guys that I meet with on a regular basis, they're like, what? You don't just plug your mics into your mixer? And it's just, they don't even know those exist. And it's it will change your life. It'll sound so much better. So some other things, help me out here. What are you thinking? Direct me here.
I'm just thinking of what are some other excellence items that might, not the average DJ is thinking about, but because of your experience, you've found to be, and I don't know if anything even comes to mind. We might just want to move on from this.
No, I can definitely go here. So some of the things that I would really consider is your look when it comes to your DJ setup. So Every DJ out there right now, for the most part, is using a 12-foot table provided by the venue, a linen, and then they're setting their stuff up on top of it. How can you be different? I would definitely recommend looking at the Pro X Mesa facade. It is such a sleek looking facade. It has a table built into it. You don't need anything from the venue, and they will love you for that. It's also a much different look. So like people will remember you. Anytime you're looking at investing in gear, look at how will people remember me through this gear, and how can I be different from my competition with this gear? So like my company, we don't use traditional PA speakers. We use all column arrays. So like the EV Evolve 50 or the DB Tech IG4T or the Turbo Sound IP2000. Yeah, IP2000 is what we used to use. But it just gives a sleeker look. It gives a cooler look than like two janky stands with two big boxes sitting on top. Plus your coverage pattern, and that's something else you should know about, is how do my speakers throw sound throughout the room? Because with a traditional top box, you're getting a much narrower field of sound being pushed out, and it's not going as far. Whereas with a column array, you're getting it to go twice as far. It's twice as loud for twice as far, and you're getting a much wider coverage pattern. So it's much more even throughout the room. So you're going to get a better sound. So like things like that. And when it comes to cables, like you don't need to, buy Mogami. Like that's crazy what you would pay for that. But find quality cables that are well reviewed, that are going to last. I love Monoprice personally. I feel like there's a lot of good products on there that have lasted really well. I still have some of the original cables that we bought 5 years ago that are still rocking. So those are doing great. I like the Lix Pros on Amazon. Those look really well, and they've lasted really well for me as well. I just said well a lot. Sorry about that. Trying to think of some other things. But yeah, definitely invest in your look. So like right now, my look is completely white. Everything I have is white, and it just stands out. Every time I go out, people come up to me and they go, this is the coolest DJ setup I've ever seen. I use a Toad booth as well. Shout out to Toad in Cincinnati. Like he builds amazing rolling DJ booths that have a TV in the front, put the couple on there. Like it just really stands out. People remember you, and they recommend you like crazy because they're like, I saw this guy. He's way different than anybody else I've ever seen.
Yeah, and you can't really underestimate the importance of presentation and having that clean look. Clean communicates that you care. So if you're not, tidy and thinking intentionally about that, you're actually communicating that you don't care about your business or your setup. And that might be wrong, but you're communicating something different with your setup. So everything you do communicates something. What are some of your DJ...
The other thing, real quick, if I can jump in. The other thing, your setup sets expectation. So if your setup is amazing looking, you got some lights glowing and stuff, like when people see that DJ, they expect big things that night. Just like if you were to go to a concert, like the opening act is usually like set up like all around the main act. So they're just kind of like running cables wherever they possibly can. And they look kind of janky. They don't usually have the cool lights. They don't have the cool backdrops. But when you get to that main performer and like all of a sudden all the lights come on, you're like, whoa, this is about to be epic. Like this is going to be so cool. And that's the vibe you want to set right when people come into the room and see your DJ setup. Now, for those of you who are just getting started, you don't need to spend all your money right now. Have a goal, build towards it. Start to add one piece at a time until you get to your eventual ideal setup. Like choose what it's going to be and then slowly move that direction.
Yeah, I think it's okay not to start off with everything. In fact, it might be better to just focus on what you can do well and deliver that with excellence over and over again. Gain your reputation first instead of trying to do it all and not being able to do it well, because then that will be your reputation, that it looked like you were going to be good and then you weren't. And people will remember that. They'll remember that you couldn't actually deliver. What have you found over the years, just in terms of things that are pet peeves that just drive you nuts when other DJs do these items that you would recommend people that are just starting off don't do these things?
Yeah, so right off the bat, I'm going to go the MC route. DJs who say nonsensical phrases. So I'm not even sure if I can give an example of this off the top of my head, but like DJs who give instructions that don't make sense. So let me see if I can pull an example out. This might be bad. You might have to edit this out. So ladies and gentlemen, good evening. If everyone could please pay attention to me right now. Listen, tonight is going to be all about the bride and groom, and they're incredible, and we are about to bring them in. So right now I need everybody to stand up and please look at your chairs, and I need everybody to clap as loud as you can when they enter the room. Okay. All right. Everybody looking at me. Okay, great. All right. Here it is. The bride and groom, ladies and gentlemen. And so right there, the DJ drew attention to themselves while the bride and groom were coming in from exactly the opposite spot from where he was. And people are going to be so confused at that point. They're like, I am not listening to that guy the rest of the night. The other thing is using really big words or long phrases or stuff that just, people tune it out because you're going too long and you're talking too much, kind of like I am right now. You're probably not even listening anymore. But that's one of my pet peeves for newer DJs is you think you have to say a lot on the mic to get results, and really you need short, simple, repetitive phrases. One piece of advice I always give to my DJs is repeat all of your instructions twice. So the first time you say it, it's the long form version. So ladies and gentlemen, we're about to introduce the bride and groom in about 10 minutes. So at that time, I'm going to need you to cheer as loud as you can possibly cheer because the bride and groom are amazing and they deserve that tonight. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be introducing the bride and groom in 10 minutes, and then just follow it up with that short repeat. Like, here's all the pertinent information that I just took too long to say, summed up right here. So again, make sure you're practicing what you say so that it makes sense, it's clear, and that people can follow you. People will follow you if you're saying things that make sense. The other thing is DJs who don't know how to EQ their microphones. Because again, you can be as practiced on the microphone. You can be an amazing MC, but if you sound like this when you're trying to introduce, people aren't going to listen to you. They're going to tune you out. You could be saying the best stuff ever. You could be the best MC in the world. But if they can't understand you or you don't sound good, they're not going to listen. Off that as well is DJs who don't turn their microphones up loud enough. So I can't tell you how many complaints I hear about DJs who we couldn't hear what they said the entire night. And that's because most DJs set their microphones on an empty room. And what they don't realize is when 200 people come into that room, you have 200 sound sponges now sitting at tables. And so whatever was loud enough before everybody walked in is nowhere near loud enough now.
That's so good. And the thing about setting up your microphone, that's definitely resonates for me in terms of being a big pet peeve, because I love EQ and thinking about sound and getting nerdy about that. And if you're a beginner, don't let this scare you. Don't run for the hills. If none of this makes sense right now, over time, these terms will become common knowledge for you. But something as simple as a high pass filter or a low cut filter, a lot of people sometimes avoid those, or they don't use them, or they don't know what they are because they're just like, I don't know what that is. I don't want to touch anything because if it's mysterious, maybe I shouldn't be using it. But one of the ways that they're designed is actually to cut out those really low frequencies that aren't necessarily helping. And once a ton of people are in the room, and those low frequencies that are there, you've got the air conditioner or the heat running, maybe there's a truck that's going by outside. Those are all frequencies that you're competing with. So if you can actually cut those frequencies out of your microphone, and I'm not saying to make it sound really tinny, but some of those really low bottom end frequencies can be cut out, and learning how to EQ dialogue mics is so important for a DJ because people need to hear what's going on. And if you know how to do that, you're going to be set apart from the rest because so few DJs actually take the time to make their mics sound fantastic.
Right. And a resource for you guys, proaudioexp.com. Again, that's proaudioexp.com. This guy toured around. He used to mix Michael Jackson, and he did a whole video series on just live sound and what it means to mix live sound, how to EQ microphones, how to set compressors. And for like $200, you can get all of his videos, and he'll walk you through from beginner all the way to advanced stuff. And I would highly recommend going through that course because it's just going to make you better at what you do and setting your system and make it sound awesome.
Yeah. And again, this is like you get one opportunity to make this day good. So you can't just rely on instinct and being able to fix it in the moment. You've got to have the knowledge beforehand to be able to adapt in the moment. It doesn't mean that you can't make adjustments as you go, but things like EQ and really understanding how all the components of that work, that's going to take some homework for you before you go to the gig. You can't just try to wing it.
And that's why I think a lot of DJs fall into the trap of, if I just buy this piece of gear, if I just get this new thing that just came out. And really what it comes down to is learning to use the equipment you have. If you learn how to maximize the equipment you have, you're going to be way better off than buying that new thing that looks so cool, but you're not going to figure out how to use that either. And so you're going to hate that really quickly as well. Be disciplined, learn how to use your equipment. Can I keep going with pet peeves? I got a lot. Yeah. Okay, all right, sweet. So another pet peeve of mine is when it comes to mixing and DJs who just don't know how to mix. And a lot of people say, my clients, they don't need mixing. They don't. And what that is an excuse from people who don't actually want to put in the time to learn how to blend songs together. It is hard, and there is a learning curve to it. But, if you're working with a record pool, they set you up really well with the intros and outros, and learn how to live mix. Look up YouTube videos. You don't necessarily need to know how to scratch. You don't necessarily need to know how to do anything fancy right off the bat, but just learn how to seamlessly blend two songs together. On that line, another pet peeve is DJs who play whole songs. Don't play the whole song unless it's a slow song and you just have to. Like, only play the parts of the songs people want to hear. If you're playing the intro on Bye Bye Bye, like, you're most likely losing energy off the dance floor because it's just so long, and people don't get excited until they hear the hey, hey, I can't sing, but, and then, it drops into the regular song. That's what people want to hear. That's what is going to get them jazzed up, not that 30-second string intro on that song. So you're killing your dance floor by doing that stuff.
That's good. Any other pet peeves? Keep going.
Okay. So, pet peeves, DJs who don't move the night along. DJs who just rely on every other vendor to push the night. Like, the DJ needs to be the one leading the charge on keeping the night going. Don't let people sit at dinner for an hour and a half. That's ridiculous. You need to be moving the night along. And you may be thinking, oh my gosh, I can't mix a dance floor for 3 hours. Well, you better learn, because that's your job. You need to be able to do that. You need to be able to go for 4 or 5 hours because it calls for it sometimes. So always be pushing the night along, but not rushing it. Just keep it flowing. Keep your guests engaged. Keep them with something to do. Make clear announcements on the mic so they know what's coming up, and stop putting 5-minute lulls in between everything. You don't need 5 minutes between the the first dance and the father-daughter dance. You can transition put those right together. Same thing with father-daughter, mother-son. Put those right together. Toast to cake cutting. You can go right now. You don't need 5-minute breaks in between everything. I can't tell you how many DJs I see who get on the mic and they go, we're going to be right back in 5 minutes with this. Why? Do it now. So that's, as you can see, I'm a little fired up about that one.
That's good, though, because people's attention spans are short. And again, most people are probably, how can I phrase this in such a way? People want to be fascinated. People want to be delighted. People want to be entertained. And you can sit back and you can just say, oh, well, that's not my job to do that, or I'm not comfortable doing that. But it's like, wait, most people are coming here because they want to celebrate. They are happy for the couple. They're there to be a part of the celebration. So your job is not just to press a button, not to just do, what you think should be done, but is to engage with that group of people for more than just, press and play on a button or doing exactly what the bride and groom or the couple said they want to do for their wedding. But it's about figuring out a way to make it an engaging experience. So do you have any other tips or things that you have found that help to ensure that your events are engaging and that they connect with people and that they delight people?
Yeah. So for me, again, it's that clarity on the mic and just being able to effectively communicate energy. So if you think about energy, and this is how I think about my weddings, is I have a bucket, and inside that bucket is energy, so like in water form. And I'm either adding water to that bucket or I'm dumping it out. There's no neutral. So if I'm not building energy, I'm losing energy. And so from the very outset, when I introduce myself, I want to be very high energy, but I don't ever want to overflow my bucket. I don't want the bucket to dump out because I put too much in there. So you want to match it with each part of the night. Same thing when you're mixing. You don't want to go high energy to low energy to lower energy to lower energy. You're going to, without realizing it, and people can't necessarily articulate this to you, but you're going to discourage them from dancing right off the bat with that kind of working tempo down. You always want to work your tempo up, loop around and come back down. So work up to 130, come back down to 70, because what that'll feel like is you're still getting faster. You're still building energy, because 70 times 2 is 140. So you're going from 130 to 140 and then loop back around and keep going up. Okay. So you always want to build energy. And when you do come down for a slow dance or whatever, be ready to pick it right back up. Some tips that I have for mixing on a dance floor is always have trump songs that are going to work. So Yeah by Usher, or Right Now Truth Hurts, or just songs that that are always going to be killers with most crowds. Have those songs in a separate list ready to go. So if you take a chance and you go with a song that you're not sure is going to work and it doesn't work, you have a song that you can go right into to keep people right on the dance floor. Line dances, as much as people are hating on those these days, work great for this. So if you get into trouble, have a song that you can go to, because in the moment, when it doesn't work, your brain like shuts down. And you're like, I don't know what to play next. Like, this isn't working. Have that list ready to go so that you can save yourself right there on the dance floor. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. No, that's so good. Such great takeaways that you've been sharing with us today, Josh. As we wrap up here, what is a goal that you've been working on, or something that you're thinking about in the next year or so? What is something that you're looking forward to completing?
Personally, I really want to see my brand take off as a travel DJ. I really want to be doing more destination weddings and destination events and touring the country. I absolutely love to travel, and I love DJing, and I would love to combine those. I've got to do that a little bit this year, so I'm going to be doing more of that. When it comes to my multi-op, I really want to see my DJs take it to the next level of personalization. So really getting to know their couples and really being invested in the success of their wedding day, more so than they are right now. Right now, they're incredibly invested, but I just want to see them take that to another level and come up to where I am, getting to know their couple so well and anticipating everything that could possibly go wrong, and then already having a solution for it ready to go, and taking this more as a full-time job, less of a part-time gig. And that's something that we're really working on right now, is figuring out a way to where we can get our DJs the salary of a full-time employee instead of, more of a part-time kind of thing. Because this is a career. It takes work. It takes skill level. And I want to give as many guys on my team the opportunity who want to do it full-time, the ability to do that.
That's great. Hey, well, as we wrap up here, any last words that you would give as encouragement to people on the front end of their journey who are just starting off? What would you say to them?
My advice to you guys would be just keep grinding. Don't let things discourage you. So if you get a bad review or whatever, don't let that bring you down. Learn from it. Understand what they're saying. Don't make excuses. Figure out what you can do better. Own it, and then be better for the next client. Because one bad review is not going to kill you. You can survive it. I have a few on the knot. You're going to make it. You're going to get through it, and you're going to be better on the other side. So keep going. Don't put yourself in a ton of debt, but at the same time, don't let a piece of gear stand between you and doing your show the best it can be, because that piece of gear will pay you back dividends if it's affecting your show.
Great. Thank you, Josh, so much for spending some time with us today.
Hey, Josh, thank you so much, and great name, by the way.
I want to thank you so much for being a listener of Wedding DJ School. You can find us over at WEDDINGDJSchool.com. Also, you can text Wedding DJ to 44222. We will ask for your email address, and in return, we will send you all of the podcast action guides for season 1 of Wedding DJ School. So you can do that for free just by texting Wedding DJ to 44222. Lots of actionable advice that you can put to use right away, all for free. Well, we're going to continue talking with leaders in the wedding entertainment industry. We will be back next week with a new episode.